Pakistan Air Force, I believe, has rewritten the rules of modern air battles. Now, since the Second World War, this probably was the largest air battle that was fought in the skies. The Pakistan Air Force, or the Pakistani pilots, managed to shoot down at least three Rafale 4.5.
And how you made this breakup of the economic cost of the conflict for the understanding of our viewers?
My estimate is that it was about $1 billion an hour.
Why Modi didn't consider this particular thing, that engaging war with Pakistan will cost India heavily on economic front, on industrial front?
Well, why didn't Modi actually think of that? That only Modi can answer.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome to program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, on the midnight of 5th and 6th of May, when India carried out massive strikes inside Pakistan, in response to these strikes, then Pakistani fighter jets also shot down three of the most modern aircrafts, Rafale, and three other aircrafts. So altogether, 6 aircrafts, including one high-profile combat drone. But later on, from this 6th May and onward, the military buildup continued. Tension between Pakistan and India continued. Escalation went all the time high. And on 10th of May, India then carried out another missile strike inside in Pakistan, targeting different Pakistani military air bases. And then Pakistan responded heavily to that Indian strike inside Pakistan, the second strike. So this conflict between Pakistan and India, if we take into account 6th and 7th May, up to 10th of May, so it continued near around 87 hours. So whenever there is conflict between two important countries, or two countries which are on the path of economic development, industrial development, socio-economic development, so there is always a economic cost of the conflict. And when we talk of India, India is also on the path of economic development. There is massive foreign investment, and Pakistan economy is also at a takeoff position. There is massive foreign investment. There is Chinese investment in Pakistan. So Pakistani economic indicators were quite positive over the last 3 to 4 months. So, but this particular conflict between India and Pakistan cost quite heavy to the both countries. To discuss this, we are fortunate to have with us renowned analyst, economic analyst, Mr. Farrukh Saleem. Very warm welcome to program Insight in V News English, Farrukh Saleem sahab. So since we have limited time, we have seen your analysis that was carried by certain foreign media outlets. How you made this breakup of the economic cost of the conflict for the understanding of our viewers?
Thank you, Mateen Saab. The first thing to understand is that modern wars have become extremely capital intensive. They require billions and billions of dollars to actually fight. The second thing is that surprisingly, Pakistan Air Force, I believe, has rewritten the rules of modern air battles. Now, since the Second World War, this probably was the largest air battle that was fought in the skies. We had about 8...
Largest air battle.
Largest air battle after the Second World War. And the reason I say that is there were about 8 dozen aircraft from the Indian Air Force, and perhaps around two dozen aircraft from Pakistan Air Force. Indian aircraft, or their military doctrine, revolved around the most expensive aerial platforms, which was Rafale, as you mentioned. So we are looking at maybe $240 million per aircraft that India spent purchasing Rafale. On the other side, Pakistan Air Force had come up with a lesser expensive or less expensive aerial platform, which was the Chinese made J-10Cs. They are around $40 to $45 million a piece. But the war here was that Pakistan was fighting a system integrated warfare. They had the jammers with them. They had the PL-15 ballistic missiles, and on the other side was the world's most expensive 4.5 generation fighter aircraft. And the results, as you said in your introductory remarks, the Pakistan Air Force or the Pakistani pilots managed to shoot down at least three Rafale 4.5.
Exactly.
Three of them. But this has never happened in history. This is the first Air Force on the face of the planet that actually downed or shot down a Rafale 4.5 generation aircraft. So that's why I said that the Pakistan Air Force actually rewrote the rules of modern air warfare. The cost, which
exactly the economic side, exactly.
Economic. It's usually within the field of economics, it's referred to as a cost of conflict. I said earlier that the cost of a modern conflict is extremely high, and we can only estimate, but there is hardcore data available from a lot of wars that have been fought over the past 10 to 20 years. India itself prepared and formulated a lot of data out of the Kargil conflict. There's a whole lot of data coming out of the Ukraine-Russian war. And it points to the fact that if two powers like the Indian Air Force,
Pakistan,
the mobilization of ground troops, the mobilization of cyber warfare, which is involved, then there's the drone warfare was made part of it. My estimate is that it was about $1 billion an hour. Both countries.
$1 billion an hour.
So it was an 87-hour war, as you said. It probably was a good 85 billion to 90 billion in terms of cost of conflict. Now, wars are taking place up in the skies, but their impact is down on the exchanges of the stock exchanges. There's a trade disruption. There's investor confidence losing their confidence on the countries that are involved in such wars. The financial markets give out, they do two things. They give out clear-cut messages as to what they prefer. So whether it was the Bombay Stock Exchange or the Pakistan Stock Exchange, they both sent out clear-cut messages that if India and Pakistan and their leadership decides to wage a war, investors would start pulling out their money. So we saw something like a $70 to $80 billion downward drift in the Bombay Stock Exchange. There were the Pakistan Stock Exchange lost a good 7,000 points, and then the following day or 2 days later, the stock exchanges gave out another message, and they gave out a message that if the two countries sit together and agree on a ceasefire, they'd be willing to invest money back into the stock exchange. And then we saw the Pakistan Stock Exchange going up by 10,000 points.
Exactly. Yesterday, there was the stock market hit all the record high.
So the message from the financial market, which we refer to as collective wisdom of investors, was very clear on both sides of the border, that fighting countries would end up losing investor confidence.
That's correct. You said that, of course, when stock exchanges of Mumbai and Pakistan Stock Exchange send a message that if war prolongs, investor would definitely run away. It is usually understood that in countries where there are prolonged conflicts, long fightings, of course, it has severe impact on investment portfolio and economic portfolio and industrial portfolio. But question is that why didn't Modi think about this aspect of the war? At a time when Indian economy is much larger and bigger than Pakistan, there is a huge American investment, foreign investment, IT companies, parks, telemedicine industry, and whatnot. So why Modi didn't think into this and launch a missile attack on Pakistan, and subsequently then it prompted Pakistan to also launch missile attack on India. So why Modi didn't consider this particular thing, that engaging war with Pakistan will cost India heavily on economic front, on industrial front? Doctor.
Well, why didn't Modi actually think of that? That only Modi can answer. I feel that politicians, not just in this part of the world, but other countries as well, they at times prioritize their political objectives as opposed to the interests of the entire state. There's talk about elections being held in Bihar. There's talk about aging Indian politician who was running out of tricks, and he had to find out or locate another trick or a new trick out of his bag. I can't really answer as to why he opted for it. But see, the difference is that Indian mobilization or mobilization of troops on the Indian side, India having an army that's about 1.4 million. They have a much larger air force. Just look at the fact that Pakistan's entire defense budget is about $7.5 billion. And just the Rafale program itself is about $16.2 billion. Indian investment into the Rafale program, which is the Navy plus the Air Force, is $16.2 billion, as opposed to Pakistan's entire annual defense budget of $7.5 billion. When they
huge difference, really huge difference.
But still, the Pakistani military doctrine managed to bring down 3 Rafales, managed to actually, I think, declare a victory against an opponent, which, as I told you, is much, much bigger financially in size. So the world around, I think, there's a global validation of Pakistan's military strategy as to the strategy that won against a strategy that was centered around the most expensive aerial platform, as opposed to a system-integrated strategy that Pakistan military followed.
So, Dr. Saab, in the days to come, of course, you have seen over the last 1 year, Pakistan has been, of course, projecting. Pakistani government has been projecting globally that Pakistan is an ideal economic place, investment place, and there is definitely foreign investment. Pakistan IT exports are going high, remittances are coming in, something like that. So, because of this cause, how you predict in the days to come? Budget is quite close, and in the first week of June, Pakistani budget would be tabled. Do you think, because of this conflict within India, there is a likely increase in Pakistani defense budget?
What we're hearing on the budget side is that there'll probably be a 17 to 18% increase in the annual budget. But that's going with the world way. Mateen Saab, over the past fiscal year, 100 countries out of the 193 that are member nations of the United Nations have actually jacked up their defense budgets. So there has been a worldwide wave, both in Europe as well, Middle East also. There's been a jacking up of their defense budget. We are hearing that Pakistani budget will probably jack up the defense budget from the current 2.1 trillion to something closer to 2.7 trillion.
Another important thing, as you analyze in your analysis, that it was amazing response by Pakistan, and one of the finest Pakistani fighter jets made in joint collaboration of Pakistan and China, definitely with the Chinese technology. Number of countries have already purchased these fighter jets from Pakistan. GF-17 Thunder, particularly the latest block that is manufactured at Pakistan Aeronautical Complex, Kamra. So how you see in the days to come, in the days now, these fighter aircraft have been battle tested. So, how would you see definitely certain developing countries who have been earlier eyeing, who have been earlier negotiating with Pakistan, including Azerbaijan, number of other countries. So, how you see the potential of Pakistan's air defense, particularly fighter jets, scope of exporting these jets to other countries at a time when these jets have definitely won a battle within no time with India?
As I said earlier, it was the Indians were counting on the most expensive aerial platform that they had bought. And Pakistan, in the meanwhile, had developed a completely different military strategy, which was not based on a single aerial platform. So they had a system integrated policy or a system integrated military strategy.
Cyber attack, missile attack, ground attack, and air attack, exactly.
Well, they mixed up. They had thought out a jammer technology. They had the PL-15, which is a no-escape ballistic missile, and then they had
visual range, exactly.
The Chinese made.
Exactly.
Following day, the stock exchanges around the world also gave out a very clear-cut message. Dassault Aviation, which is the manufacturer of Rafale, their shares went down by a good 6% that single day. And the following morning, when Shenzhen Stock Exchange opened up, Chengdu, which is the manufacturer of J-10Cs, their shares were up a good 38%. So in that sense, this was not just a military victory by the Pakistani side. It also created a geopolitical earthquake. So the world around countries like the Philippines or other countries, Indonesia, for instance, or Saudi Arabia, a number of countries that were looking at buying Rafales would have second thoughts now.
So, what do you think that in the days to come, of course, Pakistani economy, as you also said in your analysis, that if the conflict could have gone to 30 days, the cost of the conflict could have been much higher. So what do you think that in future, as there is an American already mediation, and it as a result of American mediation, India finally agreed to ceasefire. But day before yesterday, Indian Prime Minister's speech to the nation, in which Mr. Modi said that it was not India which agreed to ceasefire. So these type of provocative statements, these type of statements in which there is complete defiance to what the Americans said. So what do you think in the days to come, when America said that I brought India and Pakistan to ceasefire, both were at the brink of nuclear war, Indian Prime Minister's tone and tenor is still provocative, still shows and indicates and reflects that it's ready for another conflict with Pakistan. So your thoughts, please. If this happens, it will ruin the economy of entire region.
The way I see is that in India, there is a complete crisis of confidence within the Indian Air Force. News that are coming to us is that they've grounded their entire fleet of Rafale aircraft, and I believe that it will be in the interest of neither Pakistan nor India to begin a new round of hostilities. They've learned their lessons, we've learned our lessons, and the offending force is always the one that ends up spending the most financial resources. But the other point that we should also not forget is that there are really no winners in a modern war. It is said that there are only survivors left. No one actually wins the war.
Lastly, I would like to seek same. Do you think Americans will succeed in mediating between India and Pakistan, and both countries will finally sit on negotiation table, and India will definitely listen to Jammu and Kashmir, water, then terrorism, and these all things?
When I sit and try to connect the dots, I conclude that the ceasefire was not actually volunteered. It was actually forced upon them. Having lost 3 Rafales, in the first half an hour of a war, India was left with no other option but to seek a ceasefire. So, as I said, it was not volunteered on the part of the forces. It was actually they were left with no other option. They had to go into it. What will happen as far as water disputes are concerned, as far as similar agreement retains it or it stays, or India accepts a third country as a mediator, only time will tell. It's difficult to forecast at this stage.
So, last only one sentence. How you see? Are you hopeful that diplomacy will definitely succeed in bringing down escalation between two countries?
There's been a lot of
escalation.
yes. I think there's been a lot of domestic interest on either side of the border. There was less of a bilateral issue. There was an intense focus within India, whereby the Modi government was trying to convince domestic voters that they should rally behind him on a political front, and he underestimated what Modi was getting the Indian military into.
Thank you so much, Dr. Farrukh Saleem Saab, despite your very, very busy schedule. And you participated in our program and share your very strategic thoughts on the economic business dimension of India-Pakistan conflict. Dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.